Almost a year from now, the Indian Space Research Organisation will lift off its mighty GSLV from Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. The rocket will carry an Earth observation satellite jointly developed by Indian Space Research Organisation scientists and those from the US-based NASA, which is National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The mission will map Earth with an unprecedented resolution and precision, and even see places that were hidden from view until now. And another important thing is that the data from the mission will help our experts to predict natural hazards, natural disasters like earthquakes. And this is very pertinent, especially at a time when a devastating earthquake has hit Turkey and the death toll continues to mount. And a lot of us are wondering why it is so difficult for our scientists to predict an earthquake. Hello, I'm Srishti Chaudhary, science journalist with CNN News 18, and today I'll give you all the important details of this scientific mission, which is set for takeoff in January 2024. So the mission NISAR, which stands for NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, has been 8 years in the making. Scientists from both the countries have been hard at work all through the pandemic, getting ready the two scientific payloads for this particular mission. So when I'm talking about the two scientific payloads, I'm talking about the two advanced radars, one for the long range and second for the short range, which are being developed by the scientists. Now the L-band synthetic aperture radar is being developed by NASA, while the S-band synthetic aperture radar is being readied by the scientists from ISRO, which was then transported to the United States, where it was being integrated as one unit by scientists from California-based JPL. Earlier this week, both the teams celebrated a key milestone for this mission, which was a successful integration of the scientific payload. In fact, the scientists from US gifted a box of Lucky Peanuts to ISRO, which is considered to be auspicious there. Now, more about that later. So once this payload is ready, it will be brought to India, where ISRO will further work on it. It will undergo further testing and eventually be loaded into the satellite bus for a takeoff in early 2024. What makes this mission unique? There are a lot of Earth observation satellites in space. Scientists promised that NISAR would be different. What they explain is that there are still a lot of areas across the globe which they have not been able to study as consistently as they would like to, sometimes because of rough weather and dense clouds, especially after a climate disaster has struck. Now, this particular radar will give the scientists capability to see through those dense clouds and vegetation and capture the subtle changes on the Earth. Now, when I say subtle changes, I'm talking about changes as minute as 5 to 10 meters. So, it will empower the scientists to monitor the changes happening in urban areas, city blocks, and agricultural fields. And the amount of data that is going to be generated is another story. Scientists explain that we'll have huge amount of data, which can go up to 80 terabytes per day, which will then be studied by the teams from both the countries to arrive at different kind of conclusions. Now, a little more about how this mission is going to work. So once the rocket takes off from Sriharikota in January 2024, it will be placed into an orbit which is about 747 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Apart from the two payloads, the advanced radars that I just talked about, there is also a wide, a specialized antenna that has been developed by scientists from NASA. Now, it's one of the largest such antennas which has been, readied by scientists from NASA for a scientific mission in the last couple of years. Its diameter is about 12 meters. It will unfurl once the satellite is placed into orbit. Now, we need to understand why this mission is so important. See, first of all, it's going to help us track the climate change. Second, as I discussed, it will also help us to predict natural disasters. But we'll go one by one. First of all, the amount of data that's going to be generated from this entire mission will help us track the amount of ice melting from these ice sheets, which is an important indicator of climate change. As the temperatures are rising, the glaciers are also melting. It will also help us get an idea about the flow rate of these glaciers. Then there is the depletion of the forest cover. Now, forests, as we know, are natural carbon sinks, and they are very important for climate action. So the radar data will also help us as to how the depletion of forest cover is taking place across different countries. Apart from that is the sea level rise and the erosion across the coastal areas, because they're most prone to natural hazards. So all this data is linked to climate change, and that is why we are saying that this mission is really, really important in order to monitor the dynamic changes happening across the globe. Now, the second point is that it will help us monitor the depletion in the groundwater levels across various countries. Apart from that, there is the soil moisture data, which could be an early sign for a drought. And now I'm coming to the most important point that we all are discussing now, the scientists' ability to predict an earthquake. So apart from tracking the changes which are happening on the surface of the earth, this radar also can give us an idea about what is happening on the subsurface level. Predicting an earthquake takes a whole lot of, it's a big challenging exercise, but we might be able to get some early signs, if there's some certain kind of deformation taking place of the land. Then also there is volcanoes, and if the magma is rising up, maybe the experts can say that, that this particular volcano is active and the people around that area could be alerted. So what next? Once a scientific payload is brought to India, ISRO scientists will work on it. It will undergo further testing, and over the next few months, it will be put into a spacecraft bus and readied for launch next year. Why this mission is important? Because it's an important collaboration between the scientists from both India and US, and they have been working hard for to make this mission successful. And hopefully, if everything goes right, we can see this the two wonderful scientific payloads aboard our very own GSLV. And so that's all for now. Stay connected for more such informative videos. Thank you.